Hello, welcome to this tutorial. In this one I'm going to make a video about this collector that I have recently, let's say, purchased, but it's a gift from another laboratory. Okay, this is a fraction collector F-100 from Pharmacia. Now I switch it off. The first thing that I have to do before use it was to connect the waste cable, the waste tube to the system. This goes to this valve, and in this valve there are like other two exit, this one, and I have tested both, and this one in here is the one that goes to the arm of the collector. Okay, so the first thing that I'm going to do is switch this on. We have the switcher there in the bottom of the machine, and after that you can see all these LEDs appear. Well, after that we can pull this arm and pull a little bit to fix that, and move the collector to the first position. After that I have to pull this up so I can move the arm to this moving position, and I can put it here, for instance. The best thing about this is once you have this selecting this tube, if the collector is not correctly in its correct position, you can choose in this panel that we have here, you can choose this button, feed, so the collector will, I'm gonna press that, the collector will move to the right position. Okay, so the first thing after before using it is that we have to clean all the memory that it has inside. So if we follow the manual, is by, let's move to the manual, what we have to do is to press number 9, store return, and after that I'm going to show you how it's gonna work this. So we have this panel in here with these buttons. It says 1, 9, and store return. It appears in here, this, I have no idea what does it mean. So it seems that now we have cleared the memory of this machine. We have many buttons in here, but mainly there are two options that I am working with. I have to say that in here we can pull this out and we have many instructions. Okay, so how does it work? We can choose two options. The first option can be collect an amount of volume that we have to choose in here. I can collect 1 milliliter, and then I think that I have to store, and it says end. So if I push fraction number 7, fraction size, it should appear 1. Okay, I'm gonna say store again, and this is very useful, but it's very useful if you have a pump connected straight to this collector. But I am not having that. I have this HPLC with this internal pump that goes into a flow that the collector doesn't recognize. I don't know yet how to do that, but so that is going to be useful but not for our case. The other case that I am going to use, and it's very useful for me, is to choose the weight option number 6. So if I press again, we have no values in here, so I can change and put 1 again. It's supposed to be 1 minute, I guess, but in fact it's like 100 seconds. You will see. So I'm gonna store it again. It will say end, And if I want to use it, I have to press it and run. You will see it. Now I don't have the HPLC working, so there is no volume going nowhere. The first thing that I have to do is to activate the pumping. So I'm going to put this 1.5. This is going to be working, as you know. And as you will see, there will be a flow pumping there. Well, I have to say another thing before starting to use the collector is that there is a valve in here that can be controlled by these buttons. If I say pause, it should stop the flow to go here, but the stop will continue flowing because of the pumping of the HPLC, and it will be a leakage of the volume there. Moreover, once I press this pause button, it will interrupt the flow of the system, and it will make, if I want to continue again, it will introduce some noise, because once I stop it, it will introduce like a bubbling, or it will change the flow at the beginning, so it's not very useful to use it. It will be very useful if there is a pump that we can also manipulate with these controllers, but that's not the case. So also using this valve in the beginning, when I was testing these buttons and functions, once it has a continuum flow of the volume, but once it changed to the next fraction, to the next tube, it stopped it and the flow wasn't correct. So I thought it was something with this valve, so I disconnected, opened it up and cleaned it, and I think that I have broken it. But it's not a problem. I mean, you can even take this flow of the system and go straight in here, because this sensor has nothing to do with these tubes. And if you don't want to, if you want to configure the collector as a timing volume, I mean, I want to have to be collecting 1 minute for this tube, 1 minute for this tube, there is not a problem. You can just connect this straight to this arm and there is not going to be a problem. In fact, now that the valve is not working properly, it's like that. But I am using the pump like a connector for prolongate the tubes, okay, the tubing. So I have opened it up. It has multiple little pieces like strings or membranes, plastic membranes, or I do not recommend to open it, or at least if you do it, try to record it before while doing it, because I honestly, there were a lot of pieces. Well, so I have the flow of the system. We will have the HPLC working and connected to the computer so we can see the chromatogram. But let's move this to collect independently. So, as I told you, we have this fraction, should be volume, but honestly I don't think it's going to work, or the weight option. So if I press this weight option, I have put 1, like it, the 1 was in here in this position, but then move it now there. And as I told you, this is seconds, so it's 100 seconds. So I want to collect in this tube 100 seconds, so let's do run, and there's a countdown, okay? Once it finishes, it will move straight to the next tube. I have to say that in this first collecting, it doesn't work, so it should change to the second tube, and it didn't. It stays there, it make a noise, it stays there, but for the third tube it already moved. So the system seems to be working, so it's gonna be great for our experiments, but you have to take care with this first and second tube because both are going to be in the same. Another thing that you can do, let's wait these 20 seconds. Another thing that you can do is to move the tube manually by feed, okay? Feed. So, yeah, you see, there was a noise, another countdown, but still in this tube, so it didn't work. I can pause the system, and it says pause, but as our valve is not working, it's still pumping and making the flow continue. So I'm gonna press again to start. If the valve is working, it shouldn't be a problem, but they will introduce some pressure in the system if you have them independently, so you have to watch out that. Well, as I told you, we can move it, the arm, using feed. Let's do it. So it moved to the second position, and it starts the countdown again. So maybe it's a good way to avoid this first and second tube problem. I don't know. So let's wait this 70 seconds to check if it moves, and that's all. You can configure this arm and put it up and down if you have in larger tubes or smaller ones. Also, I think that I can introduce some kind of Eppendorfs in here because my volume is going to be lower than these long tubes. Maybe I can place them in these holes. I will give a try. And there is also something very important. In this carousel, you have this hole in here and also this tube. Well, I have checked on the manual. You saw it, it moved, so it worked. You can try to do that trick to avoid this problem. Well, the next tube number 4 is lower, it's not from the same size, and the sensor recognizes it, so it stops the collection. Your tubes, you have here a mark, horizontal straight line that should be above the tube, okay, a little bit above, you see that? And the tube should be placed on the left side of this plastic piece, okay? But if you don't place it correctly, you can do the feed button, press, and it will place it correctly. Well, as I was saying, now when it finishes, the arm is gonna be placed in the center. So we can wait for, yeah, it finished. And it recognized that there are no more tubes, so it should stop. It is not stopped, it still flows. So I should stop with the HPLC stop flow, okay? But it's not a problem. So what I was saying is, I'm gonna place this arm outside, in here, and here again. If you want to have your tubes at a certain temperature, you can fill this with water, and or even with a flow of water, place it in some of these holes. You see, the water is gonna fill the whole tank, and it's gonna go in here, and go to waste. So you can place in here just a flask or something to collect that, but it's for a freezing of the system, for maintaining the temperature of the system. So it's quite cool. I haven't seen that before, and I have not tested yet, but I will try. And that's all. This seems to be working. I'm going to do this timing collecting thing for my tubes, but the roulette is working, the sensor is working, it recognizes the tubing, and it moves. So it's gonna be good for us. You will have to match it with the chromatogram, but I think once you know this exclusion volume that you have your system, I think that it's not going to be a problem. I mean, once you have the chromatogram, once the flow goes to the PDA, how much volume it lasts to go to the tube. Once you get that, that is going to be easy if you, this is some kind of calibration. You can recognize the tubing with the chromatogram, and that's all. But you have to be aware, because these systems all work independently, which is great, but maybe it's going to give you more work than if we're all in a simple machine. So that's the whole system that I have for now. Thanks for watching, and subscribe if you like it.